The federal government is not going to address the two key challenges that it has with productivity. One of the key reasons why Australia's productivity stinks and its living standards have been in decline is because
Mr. Albanese
stinks. We've grown our population so aggressively via mass immigration. So Australia's population has grown by 8.7 million people so far this century. That's a 46% increase. And that's the fastest growth in the advanced world. And this rapid population growth has meant that we haven't been able to provide all the millions of extra workers with extra tools, machinery and technology. We haven't provided all the millions of extra people extra families we've had with enough homes. And we obviously haven't had enough infrastructure for the 8.7 million extra people who've mostly landed in the big cities.
The viewer spoke about housing. We want people to come here who are involved in terrorist organisation.
The Prime Minister needs to explain why his record migration program in a housing crisis is justified.
The second area of immigration is Hamas. We've prioritised machete skills.
Recently, Treasury documents that have been leaked show that Labor are not going to meet their housing targets, and yet their immigration targets, rather than going down as Anthony Albanese promised they would, continue to grow at extraordinary rates. And I'm sure that everyone now, once they've seen these figures, will just be asking, where are all these people going to live?
Being critical of immigration is racist, you silly white dog.
And today I'll make this point. That
everyone's standard of living has gone down, not up. And Australia's productivity has been harmed because the amount of capital investment per person has actually shrunk. So Australia's actually the worst of both worlds.
I've done that.
Is economic reform a little bit of sort of all things to all people? So for the union, economic reform is work less, pay more. For big business, economic reform is bugger all taxes and easier to sack people?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's whatever you want it to be, I guess, to meet the goal that you want. But what it really should be about is boosting the nation's productivity and living standards. And the way you boost productivity is you've got to lift the amount of output per hour of work. And you certainly don't do it by fire hosing in, millions of extra people every decade into our major cities, which dilutes your capital base, makes you less productive, and obviously makes your living standards worse because we can't build enough houses for all these people. We can't provide enough infrastructure, and we just end up more crush loaded with a lower standard of living. And that's unfortunately what Australia's done, as we've grown by 8.7 million people this century, the fastest growth in the advanced world.
Some say the housing shortage is about to get worse as net migration surges to its highest level on record.
Let's talk about housing, Prime Minister.
Do you want to? Yeah, I think you've had your say.
I've got whiplash from the different sort of daily messages being thrown at the board about the expectation of this week, right? Which is everything's on the table except everything's not on the table. And then I saw the Treasurer this weekend's talking about, government spending's on the agenda. No, it's not. The structural deficit, the decisions that mean we spend more every year despite that population growth, means we've got deficits until the year 2063. 2062 is when the Jetsons was set, Leith. That's how far into the future. Bubble cars is how bad we are looking at a deficit. There'll be no chat about that this week. Sorry, I don't know where that came from.
The federal government runs this high immigration program because it collects 80% of the nation's tax revenue. So it just sees more people means more income taxes. The problem with it is, Paul, is that the cost of those extra millions of people then falls on the states, who then go into massive debt trying to build infrastructure. They've got to sell all the assets off, and they're just drowning in debt. And the risk is that the state governments are all downgraded, and then that'll actually downgrade the federal budget, because the federal budget's seen by the ratings agencies as the guarantor of the states. And then we end up, the banks get downgraded in Australia, then we all pay higher mortgages as well. So, this is just an absolute economic disaster. And then we have the energy disaster as well on top of that.
It's just not right, sir. It's just not fair.
Labor have to be investigated.
Enough is enough. What we won't be doing is delivering more houses for Australians.